Chapter 7. Hello, my name is Kimberly, and I have an eating disorder. Specifically, I am addicted to eating spiders. Hello, Kimberly. They greet in unison. Thank you. I spoke in detail about my addiction last night, but now I would like to talk about why I fell into this horrendous lifestyle. Kim pauses and turns to look at Robert, who gives her an enthusiastic thumbs up of encouragement. My husband died last year. My young, strong, powerful husband who had so much life left to live, which is what caused me to lose control of myself and tumble into the darkness. The grief was inconceivable and still remains today. My Alexander died and shattered my world, and I killed him. The group gasps collectively as Robert covers his mouth with both hands. The eyes of the dead now come to life and gaze at Kim as she stands exposed at the podium, her bony frame wrapped around every secret she has nearly killed herself to bury. That's right. He was the love of my life, my shining star, and I killed him. I have felt so guilty about it every single day since it happened that I have allowed myself within inches of death because I deserve it. But so did he. We were planning on starting a family, or so I thought, but it never happened. The first year of marriage turned into several without progress in that respect, and he began to disappear more and more. Kim pauses and looks around the crowd, already knowing she has reached the apex of human suffering and can't be bothered by their grimaces now. I followed him one night against my better judgment and found that he was visiting another woman's house. No big deal, right? She was probably a work colleague or lost friend he reconnected with. Believe me when I say that I tried to make every fathomable excuse on his behalf to paint him as an innocent, in my mind at least. He was drinking more and coming home smelling odd, like different brands of perfume and booze. But his job was stressful, and people hug acquaintances all the time, right? Round and round it went for far too long as I scrambled desperately to prove to myself that he was still the man that I married. I don't mean to interrupt, Kimberly, but there might be legal implications to worry about. Robert interjects. Maybe we should speak carefully to not get ourselves into trouble? It's a shut case. I was vindicated immediately as they ruled it an accidental death, but I will get to that in just a moment. She glares at Robert as he backs down and allows her to continue. His behavior grew stranger, and I couldn't help but to follow him again. By that point, I had already resigned myself to there being another woman and wanted to believe he just made a simple mistake, or just maybe there was still a misunderstanding that would come to light later. But I ended up driving to another woman's house, and another, and several others. My head began to swirl, but I decided to head home before doing anything rash. As I said, he drank often with clients, and it drastically changed him from the man I dated and decided to marry. Even if I couldn't see past my own irrational idealism. I know that now. So, he walked in the door that night, kissed me and called me Heather with lipstick on his cheek and reeking of cheap perfume before passing out drunk on the couch. So you didn't kill him? He died of alcoholism? A woman asks from the front row. Now, Regina, we must hold our questions for the end. Robert reminds her, appearing quite pale in the face. I'm getting there. He passed out drunk on his back with his mouth wide open and snoring obnoxiously. I couldn't lie to myself anymore, as it was too much to handle with him doing so at every turn. My husband, my Alexander, was not mine anymore, and the life we built together was ruined far beyond repair. I was in a horrible place, pacing through the house in agony, wishing for nothing more than to make all my pain end with the snap of a finger. All the excuses I made for him over the course of a couple years, so many nights where I was left neglected after he came home late and drunk. I felt as if my body would shatter at any second. Hell, I desperately wanted to, but it never happened. I stepped outside for a smoke, even though I had already quit several times, and saw a beautiful black widow at the corner of the porch. I was a broken human without a care for consequences, and immediately reached out to take it in my hand. Perhaps the smoke was pacifying, or maybe she sensed my calmness toward dying. But her black jewel eyes stared into mine and gave me all the boldness in the world to act as I pleased. Her presence felt like an omen, and I knew exactly what to do while I continued to cloud her in cigarette smoke as we spoke. I was broken. Years of eating dinner alone, watching television alone to pass the time, and laughing alone until the world was zapped of happiness. Life wasn't worth living anymore at that moment for either of us. So I cupped that black widow in my hands and shook them up good before dumping her in Alex's open mouth and holding it shut for several minutes. He didn't even stir. Eventually, remorse began to hit me hard, and I let go of his chin to go to bed for the night and allow fate to play out as it should. I woke up in the morning after a great sleep and found him in the same position, only bloated and purple in the neck and face. Although the boozing had already caused that to be his normal appearance at that point. I knew immediately that the majestic black widow bit his throat and was trapped in his stomach, sacrificing her own life to give me back my own. As I said, police released me right away and ruled his death as an act of God, if you could imagine that. I was a free woman, both legally and matrimonially, yet the guilt grew rapidly within days, and I could not bear to live any longer. I grabbed the first spider I could find and tried to end myself the same way, although it was not a black widow, and it only crawled down my throat. So began my slow descent into the grave, where I have been trying to dig myself out for over a year now, but only seem to be deepening the hole. This is why I am addicted to eating spiders, and why I am here tonight, a mere shell of my former self. The crowd waits in silence with bated breath before rising in unison and cheering their hearts out. Rows of broken spirits who would kill for such a hero story stand and applaud Kimberly's past after she has mourned it at every turn. A meeting hall full of wayward souls with kind hearts, all cheering her on for doing the unforgivable. She grits her teeth and steps off stage before walking toward the exit. "Kim, wait! Kim!" Robert pleads into the microphone, but she is already through the double doors and making her way down the hall. She accomplished what she came to do, and there is no point waiting around now.